Putin News Now Who is leading the Russian opposition now? Vladimir Putin has become virtually unopposed as Russia's president. Many of the dissenting voices have been silenced, while others have been exiled or even killed for speaking out. More than 20 years of repression had nearly eliminated opposition in Russia by the time he launched his full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. Russia's oligarchs, or extremely wealthy individuals with political aspirations, were brought to heel early in President Putin's rule. After funding opposition parties in Russia, Mikhail Khodorkovsky, the former head of the oil giant Yukos, was arrested in 2003 and spent the next decade in prison on charges of tax evasion and theft. He fled Russia as soon as he was freed. Another oligarch, Boris Berezovsky, who helped Putin rise to power, had a falling out with him and committed suicide in exile in the United Kingdom in 2013. Over time, every major Russian news outlet either came under direct state control or began parroting the Kremlin's official line. Alexei Navalny, who is currently serving time for his role in the Russian government's attempted coup, has emerged as the most visible opponent to Vladimir Putin. From behind bars, he has claimed that Putin is waging a criminal, aggressive war to tarnish the reputations of hundreds of thousands of people. In August of 2020, while visiting Siberia, Navalny was poisoned by Novichok, a military-grade nerve agent. Nearly killed in an attack, he was airlifted to Germany for treatment before returning to Russia in January 2021, where he was promptly arrested on charges of fraud and contempt of court. He was the subject of an Oscar-winning documentary and is currently serving a 9-year sentence. In the 2010s, Navalny participated in large-scale anti-government rallies, and the Anti-Corruption Foundation's, FBK, many exposés have garnered millions of online views. The foundation was banned in 2021 for its extremist activities, and Navalny has repeatedly said that any accusations of corruption against him are politically motivated. Former FBK head Ivan Janov, former top FBK lawyer Lyubov Sobol, and most, if not all, of the heads of the extensive network of Navalny's offices across Russia have all come under pressure from security services and some have fled abroad. Leonid Volkov, Navalny's right-hand man, fled Russia in 2019 after a money laundering case was brought against him. Those who are against the war. Ilya Yashin, another prominent critic of Putin and Russia's war, is currently serving time in a Russian prison. In an April 2022 YouTube livestream, he called Russian President Vladimir Putin the worst butcher in this war, and demanded an investigation into possible war crimes committed by Russian forces. A law against spreading deliberately false information about the Russian armed forces was broken during that live stream, leading to a sentence of 8.5 years in prison. Putin came to power in 2000, when Yashin was just 17, and the law was rushed through parliament soon after the Russian invasion of Ukraine on 24 February 2022. He has been an opposition activist for quite some time, and in 2017 he was elected head of the Krasnoselsky District Council in Moscow, where he has continued to criticize the Kremlin and its policies. More than a month of 2019 was spent behind bars because of his participation in demonstrations against the government's refusal to register independent and opposition-minded candidates for elections to the Moscow City Council. Vladimir Kara-Murza, a journalist and activist with a degree from Cambridge, was poisoned twice in 2015 and 2017 and subsequently slipped into a coma both times. In April 2022, he was taken into custody for speaking out against the Russian invasion of Ukraine. He was later charged with spreading fake news about the Russian military, leading the efforts of an undesirable organization, and treason. If convicted, his attorney claims he could spend up to 25 years behind bars. He has written extensively against Putin in both Russian and Western media outlets, and in 2011 he spearheaded the opposition's efforts to have Western sanctions adopted against Russian human rights abusers. After the death of Russian prisoner and whistleblower lawyer Sergei Magnitsky in 2009, many Western countries passed legislation known as Magnitsky Acts. Struggle for democratic rule. Kara-Murza served as the vice chairman of Open Russia, a prominent pro-democracy group founded by ex-oligarch Mikhail Khodorkovsky, who is currently on the run. Russia's government deemed it undesirable, and it will be shut down in 2021. Andrei Pivovarov, the leader of Open Russia, was given a 4-year sentence for his part in a undesirable organization. A close friend and key Russian opposition leader, Boris Nemtsov, was recently murdered. Before the Putin era, Nemtsov served as governor of the Nizhny Novgorod region, energy minister, and then deputy prime minister. He was also elected to Russia's parliament. Kara-Murza faces a lengthy prison sentence, but at least he is still alive. Then he led a growing number of protests against the Kremlin and published several reports in which he criticized Vladimir Putin. Hours after calling for a march against Russia's initial invasion of Ukraine in 2014, Nemtsov was shot 4 times as he crossed a bridge outside the Kremlin on February 27, 2015. Although 5 men of Chechen descent were found guilty of Nemtsov's murder, the identities of the masterminds and their motivations remain murky. An investigation conducted 7 years after Nemtsov's death uncovered evidence that a government agent connected to a secret assassination squad had been following him across Russia in the months leading up to the killing. These prominent opposition members are only a small fraction of the Russians who have been singled out for expressing discontent. Independent Russian media outlets, including the news websites Meduza and Novaya Gazeta and the television network TV Rain, have been forced to relocate abroad since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine began last year. Talk radio station Echo Moskvy is just one of many that have ceased broadcasting. Many commentators, including veteran journalist Alexander Nevzorov, have been forced into exile after being falsely accused of being foreign agents by the Russian government and given an 8-year prison sentence for fake news about the Russian armed forces. However, a massive following is not necessary to attract attention. A math student named Dmitry Ivanov who ran an anti-war Telegram channel was sentenced to 8.5 years in prison in March 2023, also for spreading fakes about the military. Meanwhile, Alexei Moskolyov, a single parent, was sentenced to 2 years in prison for expressing online dissent after an investigation was prompted by an anti-war picture drawn by his daughter, then 13 years old. It took Vladimir Putin over 20 years to lock down all potential challengers to his authority. If that was his intention, then it succeeded.